Hello everyone, welcome to the Jazz Social, number 6, 8th of May. That of course was Scott Tinkler and Simon Barker that you were listening to just then, and that is because Scott Tinkler is playing with us next week with Julius Schwing in a duo called Bruny Island. But really I could have chosen to play a number of other things because also next week is Lee Carriage and Steve Russell and the great Stephen Magnuson on the guitar. So an action-packed show. No less exciting is tonight's lineup. And I'm going to introduce them in a moment. Please do remember that the Jazz Social was set up to support musicians during the coronavirus shutdown. And there is still no end in sight to that for musicians who were strangely absent from the government announcements today. It it's almost as if the government doesn't know we exist. It's very odd indeed. But whatever, we'll keep doing this as long as we can, as long as we have to. So please support the musicians that are playing here tonight by donating to our PayPal account. If you missed the link for that, I will post it in the chat shortly. So tonight we have the Dorchester Trio coming to us to play us some manouche, some gypsy jazz. Maybe I've mixed those things up. They might have to clarify that for me. We have Joe O'Connor joining us on the piano, one of my favorite piano players. And we have Zoe and Ben Hauptmann joining us, 2/3 of the famous jazz Hauptmanns. So I'm very much looking forward to that as well. But first, off the blocks, is the Dorchester Trio. Gareth, are you there?
Hello.
Fabulous.
Hello.
Welcome to the Jazz Social. I put my foot in it? Like, is there a difference between manouche and gypsy jazz?
No,
Is one
manouche
more?
is the French word for gypsy style.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's
all
kind
right.
of what I thought, but then I second guessed myself.
Yeah, it's just different names. People call them by different names, and it's hard to get one ultimate name for it.
Yeah, we used to call it swing jazz, right?
Gypsy swing or
Gypsy
manouche
swing.
swing. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you guys, and yeah, it's your show. I'll see you at the other end, okay?
Cool. Thanks,
All right.
Tony. Thank you. Cool. So we are 2/3 of Sagani Weaver and 1/3 of the Gypsy Cats, and we live together here in the Dorchester household.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off. We've got a few different numbers for you. The first one's called "I Love You." It's not by Cole Porter. It's by a guy named Harry Archer in 1923. And yeah, it's a pretty new tune for us. We've been working on today. So I hope you like it. And before that, of course. Yeah. All right.
Can't sing that.
1, 2, 3. Thank you. I'm going to imagine there's applause now. Hey. All right, we're going to go into an original now. This is a tune by Dani Avazani over here, the talented and wonderful man. Woo! Hello, Banjo.
Cat.
My cat might interrupt the scene a bit. But anyway, this is a waltz called Waltz de Mar, which is Waltz of the Sea. I'll pop the chat. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, I'll do it. 1, 2, 3. Well done.
Nice.
All right. Power on into our third song. On the Sunny Side of the Street by Jimmy McHugh.
There you go.
Classic. One of our favorites since Avazani. Guys, do you play too?
Yeah, I think so. Sometimes.
Sometimes. Yeah, nice. All right. What's the time? Cool. We're doing well. Tiger Rag.
Tiger Rag.
I don't think we'll fit in 2 more, but we'll see what Toby says. We got Tiger Rag. This is a exciting number. It's a 1917 piece.
First jazz.
One of the most recorded jazz songs back in the time. Originally by the original Dixieland Jazz Band in New Orleans. Django just recorded it. Every Gypsy musician loves this tune. All right. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Thank you very much.
That was the clap.
There's still 4 minutes, so I guess we'll squeeze in one more.
Yeah.
We'll do Dark Eyes. Finish on Dark Eyes. Les yeux noirs.
Les yeux noirs.
Les yeux noirs.
Les yeux noirs.
Yeah. What does that mean?
The dark eyes. the black eyes.
thank you so much.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Toby. Thank you, everyone.
That's so cool. There's a lot of comments in the chat to people dancing in their lounge rooms and so on.
Oh, that's nice.
We'll check it out. Yeah.
So much energy in those up tempos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's warm in here.
I love that kind of. I won't talk too much. I love the kind of elegance in the slow tempo tunes too, in that style.
Thank you. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna leave you guys. We'll see. We'll talk to you later though. And I'm gonna ask Joe. Is he there? Joe.
All right, here I am.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, how's that sound going for you?
That sounds good to me.
Excellent, excellent.
What are you going to play for us tonight?
I made some plans, which I'm now changing on the fly. I thought I'd have a little bit of a ramble first, actually, about you mentioned before we started streaming tonight that you sort of people are very interested to hear how everyone's affected by by lockdowns and stuff like that. And I'm not going to go into too much detail, other than to say that this is the first time I've ever performed from my garage, and it's also going to be the first time I ever perform on this particular piano, which is not the one I would normally go to as my first option, but it is sort of very very interesting and very charming, but a little difficult to play. But I'm kind of into that. So the reason my plans are changing on the fly is I'm sort of thinking about what I think will work in my garage on this instrument, which is quite a lovely old piano. It's we get a little bit of a look at it here. It's about 110 years old now. It's an Ibach from what I suppose is the golden era of piano making, and it's in original condition, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But it's still very charming. It looks like Toby's frozen. Are you getting my signal?
Oh no, I'm still here. I was just leaving it up to you, Sean.
I didn't realize. Anyway, it's going to be a very interesting playing this, and hopefully it sounds nice from your end as well. But I was thinking I might actually start with a piece called "Young and Foolish," which is a ballad which I've really enjoyed, particularly since hearing the Bill Evans and Tony Bennett version of that, which is on one of their albums. I think they had 2 albums, but I've only really kind of checked out one of them. Beautiful song, and I was kind of thinking just before starting that the title's referring to all these kind of crazy things that you might do when you're young and foolish, but now sort of being young and foolish is being below 35 and standing too close to someone at the supermarket, and I'm not sure if that makes the song more or less poignant, but I suspect probably less. But hopefully there's something poignant about the delivery anyway. And as for what I'm going to play after that, I'm going to be playing standards tonight, a few different standards. I was thinking of playing "Don't Blame Me," which has always been a bit of a favourite of mine, and we'll see where we go after that. I've got a couple of other ideas, but I don't want to commit to anything.
Can't wait to hear you play, Joe.
All
and
right.
I'll see you at the other end.
No worries. So yeah, I'm going for time. I actually forgot to check with Toby exactly what time I'm supposed to play till. I missed that, Toby.
You got time for another one at least, Joey.
One more.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. I'll make it a long one then. In that case, I've been tending to stick to ballads tonight because fortunately this instrument's a little tricky to control with sort of faster stuff. So I'm going for slow and moody tonight. The last one for me is a little bit of a puzzle, but I'm thinking I might actually play another favourite of mine, which is one of many moon tunes I learnt years ago. I used to occasionally do a set of one or two sets of tunes, all with moon in the title, and this one's called No Moon at All. And I don't know why. It's funny, the things that come through your head when you're playing. Just when I was playing that last one, I noticed that Toby was doing a set a couple of weeks ago of all kind of COVID themed tunes, and I was wondering if he did I COVID'd the waterfront. I don't know. I suppose he can let me know later. Anyway, this one is No Moon at All.
Thanks, Joe.
No worries, Toby.
It's so exciting to hear you just going for it. I mean, it was kind of a ballad, but I'm glad you got a chance to kind of let rip there.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Probably more than I did.
Oh, I loved it. And there's a lot of virtual applause happening in the chat too. Zoe and Ben, are you there?
Hi, we are here.
Excellent. Hi.
Richard.
I will. I will hand it over to you now, and I'll see you at the other end. Okay. I'm looking forward to hearing you.
Great. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and thanks so much for having us at Jazz Social. We're really excited. We've branched out from just doing our Facebook Live, which we've done a couple of times as the Hauptmann Duo, and now we're doing an actual proper gig, which is exciting. So we're going to play a few extra tunes for you. We were just chatting about what we were going to play before. I think we're just going to play a few tunes that we kind of have played a bit over the years and that we really like, and we hope you like it too. The first one's one I'm sure you'll all know. It's been done a lot of times, and we really enjoy playing it. It's called Georgia.
Hello there. Hey, Toby. The next tune we're going to play is another tune that's been played a million times. I can't remember the guy's name that wrote it. He's a trombone player in Dizzy Gillespie's band.
What song is it?
Caravan.
Oh, yeah. You just gave it away.
One Tizol.
Yeah, One Tizol, that's it. Thanks, Ev. Okay, this one's Caravan. Going to feature Zoe on the double bass.
Thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in. So, people who are just listening now are Zoe and Ben Hauptmann. We're thrilled to be here, the Jazz Social. We're just playing a couple of standards for you tonight. Hope you're having a lovely evening. Yeah, this is really fun, isn't it, Ben? Yeah. Doing a gig at home in the basement. It's good. The next tune, what are we doing next?
Fried pies.
Oh, we're doing a tune called Fried Pies next. Fried pies actually sounds quite a disgusting thing to eat, I would imagine. Has anyone tried it, a fried pie? Let us know. Write in, tell us, how was it? Was it good or was it bad? Hopefully this tune is good. Fried pies. Fried pies. Okay, we have one more song for you. I might let Benny introduce this one.
This is probably my favourite Bill Frisell song. It's off the album called The Rambler, and this is the tune called The Rambler, off the album The Rambler.
What an excellent intro, Benny. We hope you've enjoyed this set. I think we're going to stick around for a little chat after this. I'm pretty sure that's what's happening with everybody. And yeah, here it is, our last tune, The Rambler, Bill Frisell. you.
I'm here.
Hi.
Hi. That was awesome.
Oh, thanks. It's
So
funny
great.
playing after so long not playing. It feels really hard.
Did it actually feel like a gig?
In a way, in a weird like gig with no people at it. But I know there's lots of people there, but it's so surreal, like playing with.
They are there and they're very appreciative.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you for being there.
I think the first time I met you both, you were playing together and with James in Townsville.
Oh wow, yeah. Was that at the Townsville Jazz Festival with Jezza?
Yeah.
I think that.
with Andrew Shaw and Grant.
Oh yeah, and Trevor Hart Quartet.
Yeah, cool.
So that must have been about 20 years ago.
I think that was the time that we opened the festival with Jeremy's band, and we flew Jetstar, and Jetstar managed to send my bass to Perth instead of Townsville, which was quite strange because it's very opposite place. So I had to
Indeed.
borrow one of those stick, those bass, like they're like a stick bass. So that was kind of fun.
Have you guys always played together? I'm kind of jealous of the family music making situation.
Yeah, we have always, because we started at the same time. We got to a certain point in high school. We're in this music, like, you clap back a rhythm, whatever. You could do it a bit or sing a little bit. They put you in this bit better music class or whatever. But it got to this point where they were like, you guys have to learn an instrument. So mum and dad bought us a guitar to share because they didn't want to buy 2 instruments for us. So we shared guitar for a while, and then eventually dad I got a bass. So, and then our little brother started playing drums pretty soon after that.
Yeah, cool. And I mean, so music making was like social for you right from the start then, kind of.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. We used to have lots of jams that like we'd play all the time, and all our friends, like randomly all our friends sort of started playing at the same time. A lot of musos we went to high school with who were still playing, like people like Jess Green, Dan Juno, Lucian McGuinness, Louise Horwood. This whole big Canberra crew kind of all started playing music at the same time. And so that was great because it was like ready-made friends we could just jam on, one called funk jams for hours and hours and practice soloing and doing all that stuff you do when you're learning. So it was great.
Yeah, for sure. Gareth, are you there? You guys, your band's onto the beers already. I was going to say, you guys seem to have like a quasi-family situation happening there as well, a musical family at least. But they've pissed off and left you alone. Can you... I can't really hear you, Gareth.
That would be because the mic's off.
That's much better.
Yeah, we have a bit of a rotating house of musicians. Basically, we try and keep people coming and going. If someone wants to go travel, we try and bring in another guitarist or something. And yeah, so I teach the neighbor next door, and Dani teaches another neighbor, so the neighbors aren't complaining as well. So it's all pretty good.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know. I'm asking about the family thing because, I should probably force my kids to accompany me, but I don't.
Well, that's
for me, like, I make music alone, and so this whole shutdown is very weird.
Yeah.
Because I find it awkward to improvise alone. I think that's really social.
Yeah. And I haven't been practicing my improvisation because I don't go on stage as much. Where I'm just sitting in my bedroom composing, which is different and useful skills, but not. Yeah, I agree completely. But yeah, having other musicians in the house does force each other to.
We're very lucky.
I'll wake up in the morning to Dani saying, "Come have a jam," and we'll just all run upstairs. There you go. So it helps motivate us, especially when you're just not sure what's going on with the gigs, of course, and everything.
And he hasn't got his video on, but Joe, are you there?
I'm here.
You, on the other hand, sitting in your garage drinking wine all alone on piano.
It looks like wine only because it's a wine glass. It's actually whiskey. It's brought to you by Connemara.
Excellent.
All alone in the garage.
Is music, I don't know, do you think of music making as a solitary activity or as a social thing?
Interesting question. I mean, very social sometimes, but very solitary other times, you know, like a large part of what I've done over the last few years has been like sort of studio composition, like or chamber music, which is very solitary. It's incredibly. I mean, I haven't written anything for a chamber ensemble for a little while, partly because it's so solitary and so sort of slow and often boring time spent by yourself. And I'm not performing a whole lot either at the moment, for various reasons.
One main one.
Oh no, I suspect there's a few intersecting reasons for that. You know, actually part of it is that a lot of the a lot of my peers who I was making music with probably 5 years ago are doing more work in sort of country or bluegrass or various other types of music making, which or they've moved internationally, or you know, all sorts of reasons. So actually a lot of the people I used to make a lot of music with are not really around anymore, so so I that sort of also sort of changed the type of playing and the frequency of the playing, and you know, so I have done a little bit of solo playing over the last I suppose just I mean, generally I do the occasional solo gig, but if I think of the last things I've done, yeah, I was supposed to do a solo show in April, and yeah.
And you and I were talking before, like earlier today, about this idea of whether you think it's better, and I think I know your answer, whether you think it's better to be conscious and kind of analytical while you're improvising, and I wouldn't mind asking everyone, just because I'm interested, whether you think improvisation is something where you are conscious and analytical of what you're doing and aware, you know, kind of executive function, or whether it's more desirable to be more on that unconscious and kind of
I kind of
not thinking level.
I kind of hope my answer isn't what you expect, and I'm not sure what it is you expect. I don't know, it'd be nice to surprise. I was sort of thinking, you know, when you brought that up, I was thinking about how I would kind of ramble on a bit about that, and I think one thing that kind of struck me is that you can't really improvise without thinking. You know, you can't just check out and hope the body does it. So I think regardless of where you sort of sit on that spectrum, I think we're probably talking about degrees of something. And certainly, you know, I improvise in a lot of different sorts of ways, you know. Playing jazz standards or original jazz is only one of them, you know. Sometimes I'm doing more sort of experimental stuff where the awareness is much more kind of timbre focused, and maybe less kind of fast and cognitive in a sense.
Okay.
And I find the sort of headspace I end up in lots of different types of situations is very different, you know. Like there are certain compositions of mine that I've played which are constantly stressful and you know, could fall apart at any moment. And I suppose I would have to say that improvising in those situations is sort of very cognitive and very kind of connected to very particular sort of processing that I have to do just to get through it. But at the same time, I think sometimes people talk about intuitive in a way which is sort of a bit of a placeholder for actually being in a flow state where everything seems to come naturally. And I think that's something different to whether or not you're being cognitive or intuitive. I think it's actually being cognitive and sort of very thoughtful and processing everything you're doing and considering everything you're doing, but hopefully at a level where your focus isn't being diverted by other types of concerns. And that might be what the audience is thinking, or whether you're getting virtual applause, or it might be, or it might be, this isn't going so well, I'm just trying to fix it, and if you're playing well, hopefully those sorts of things which can divert your attention disappear, and it feels intuitive just because you're not splitting your attention.
Can I take that question around the group?
Absolutely.
I don't know whether you have an intuition of whether you try and keep your head in the game or try and get your brain out of the game when you play, and whether you think one or the other is good.
Do you guys want to go next? The Hauptmann?
Ben, do you want to?
Okay. So I think if you're thinking about the goal, you're kind of doomed. But if you're just sort of in the process, you're like what Joe said, your kind of attention isn't in the right place. But if you're kind of thinking about, your mind starts wandering and thinking about where this thing might end up or what you're going to have for dinner. I can see. So what you're going to have for dinner, as soon as you start wandering away from just being in this moment when you're meant to be listening to the people who you're playing with, and it's just attention. So where is your attention? So it's definitely cognitive. I don't know how it could be anything else when it's based on that,
What about Dorchester group?
I definitely agree with all the points above. There's definitely always cognitive part of it going on, but I think a lot of the time I think too much, and I do have to bring myself back and just, in a sense, let go and just let the music play itself, which sounds mad, but also is kind of how I feel works best for me when I'm on stage, and what the audience vibes with the best. And yeah, there's definitely a balance, and variety is the most important thing. I think if you do the same thing the whole gig, it's going to be less exciting than if you try to do both sides of the coin.
Yeah, totally. I to declare, which I probably should have done first, my position. I actually interviewed a bunch of musicians when I was doing research ages ago, actually, and I found an almost even split between musicians who thought they should be in a flow state and not thinking consciously, and those who thought they should be constantly aware and vigilant and calculating and analytical. And yeah, those musicians found those positions desirable, and they thought they should improvise that way, which I didn't expect. I just thought it was weird, and I think I've kind of changed my mind about it, but I'm not gonna confess what it is. No, I've become I think I've become less analytical, less conscious mind focused.
Yeah, but the more I play, I think so. The same.
Look, that's pretty much the end of that. I'm consumed by the government announcement today, and another government announcement that doesn't recognise musicians or artists. Pubs and clubs may open with 10 people maximum or something. That's not going to help us. Does anyone have...
It's also not going to help clubs and pubs. They can't operate with 10 customers,
Yeah, I know. It's going to be pretty rough for them too. But yeah, I don't know. It gets me going that so many such great musicians like yourselves and others have been just left out in the cold like this.
I think we can pretty much guarantee it's going to be quite a while before it's back to normal, 2021 probably. Really, I mean, it depends with festivals and stuff. Hopefully, we can get a few festivals off the ground towards the really end of the year. But I think it's going to be the last thing to come back. It was the first to go, and be the last to come back if they're rolling it back in reverse. I think big gigs and festivals, stuff like that, it'd have to be.
It's probably very hard to track. You know, if there's any type of outbreak, it's probably hard to tell who was there and who had contact with.
Well, I saw an interesting thing today. Actually, I read that a guy who used to run the big day outs was mentioning, you know, would people do the tracker thing, you know, on the phones? Would they do that to be allowed to go to a music festival? Like if it meant they could then go to the music festival, which I thought was interesting. I hadn't done the survey yet as far as I could tell, but was just putting the question out there. So I think obviously there's a lot of people thinking about it, and it's a massive industry, so everyone's going to be trying to find solutions, but there could be some creative ways around it, you know. Or I saw another thing overseas, they're doing like drive-in concerts, which is really cool, like the old drive-in movies, but you drive in and then everyone's sitting in their cars and, you know, feel like you could fit a fair few people on a, you know, football field or whatever.
That's great.
Awesome.
You know, it's not going to work for everyone, but it's like for some shows and stuff like that, that'd be super fun. And, you know, I think people will start thinking, hopefully, in those sort of ways. But yeah, it's disappointing that we still are not mentioned. Not surprising, though, you know, things what's come before, but yeah, disappointing.
It is disappointing. It's a bit sobering, what you said about it being the first to go and the last to come back. Sorry to finish it on a sobering note, but
No.
thank you so much for playing.
Thank you, Toby.
Pleasure.
It was a real delight to hear you all. And thanks everyone for watching. And we'll see you next week. Next week we've got Lee Carriage and Steve Russell, Scott Tinkler and Julia Schwing, and Steve Magnuson. Big show. So tune in next week. Thanks everyone.